you are gonna see some cool ass shit.
Yeah, you don't want two Flavor Flays.
Heart transplants, brain surgeries. I've seen it all.
Dude, that's fucking dope.
Walk up and just get it, whatever it is.
Yeah, brother.
I'm trying not to laugh, bro, but Josh is fucking killing me.
Guess what Navy SEALs do, motherfucker? They communicate and they're on the same fucking page.
Whoa.
2, 1. We're rolling.
All right, welcome everybody to the Happy Hoodlums podcast. It's your host, the Happy Hoodlum himself, Mr. Kemper Woodruff. We also have the very strong one who's actually 6 tonight, so his immune system isn't as strong as his biceps.
Nope.
Mr. Zachary Sampson.
What up, gang? Oh my god.
Also at the top of the episode, and kind of where I want to go with this is I didn't want to miss it because, tomorrow is actually the day that my dad died last year. So I want to give a shout out to my dad,
Rest
a
in peace.
little pre-Father's Day kind of thing. And it's really got me thinking a lot about consistency.
Yeah.
And just so much shit has happened in my life that over the past year, I hadn't really had a chance to like look up and see how far I've come. And even though I feel, or it may seem on paper that I'm in a similar space, I know that I'm not because my character's changed a lot, just in taking care of myself. And I'm really proud of the man that I am. And I've been really looking in the mirror, and especially a lot since I'm at the gym, and noticing that fuck the like result that you get physically, the result that you get in character building, when you do something consistently and really when you show up for yourself consistently for the betterment of others, that's where you begin to shine. Because I don't know if I'm going to be a dad or not. That's kind of to be determined, but it's looking like I'm going to be a dad at the end of July. And so, I found out about that a little bit late, but that's kind of neither here nor there. I've just been looking at it like, what the fuck can I do about this, as a man to take control, especially coming out of like earlier in the year. I was having like spinal injection shit, like, and people that follow the podcast can see me in bed still doing the podcast during the Dale Comstock episode. And it's just like greatness doesn't fucking stop, and where it starts sometimes is before the record begins with other people, and it's like you got to keep fucking tally on yourself, because no one's gonna come and pat you on the back. Sometimes people don't, give you the cookie cutter, oh, this is how things are supposed to go, and that whole supposed to go thing just has to go out the fucking window, and you just got to show the fuck up,
That whole supposed to go thing though is kind of bullshit in general. Because really there is no like cookie cutter format for life. It's all different.
And exactly, and the more you get lost in the weeds, so it seems, you're really just blazing your own fucking trail of uniqueness, to discovering like who you are through the adversity of revealing your own wisdom. It's like you said you were this thing, and your path is taking you to fucking the journey to become it. You know what I mean? And the journey itself, if you're looking for like milestones and checkpoints, sometimes they're invisible. You don't really recognize it until your willingness to walk that path and endure consistently leads you to the place where that opportunity fucking hits you, and then you go, whoa, and you start to see the scales tipping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it goes over it goes into other things. That's why I'm saying like character is super important, because for instance, I was in the gym and it's summertime, so at Crunch there's tons of little like high school kids and shit, and you can see them, right? and you can see the dynamic of like men, and especially like what our youth are thinking males are supposed to be based on all this social media shit and navigating high school stuff, you know. And I was lifting the other day, and I look in the mirror, and I see this kid fucking, like about to die under this fucking bench press, and there's like six of his friends around him, and they're not doing anything. So I hopped off my shit and I ran over, and I was like, yo, what the fuck are you guys doing? You know what I mean? And they kind of looked at me and were like giggling. And I was like, they were like, it's his first day. And I was like, bro, then don't let him kill himself in the gym and hurt himself before he even starts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a moment where I recognized like I might not have been like the cool guy to them, but I was who they needed to reality check the shit out of themselves,
Yeah.
Because right now you're all trying to be like cool, but you're all fucking insecure, you know? And there's nothing cute about getting your bro in the gym just to dog him by showing him what he can't do while he's trying to push himself.
Exactly.
And so it really kind of made me look in the mirror, and I was like, there's a lot of things in my life that I'm taking back control over by doing consistently what I can to position myself so when that gate opens, I'm able to fucking take off, And I already got a head start because even though the gate hasn't opened yet, I'm fucking building the fucking perfect vehicle, the most perfect vehicle I can. So once I get that lane, I'm fucking down that bitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so saying that, I've kind of started to look at like responsible men, and like that's really something. The more time passes, and I really miss my dad. I started looking at him and like seeing the intangible qualities that I didn't recognize while he was here, and I overlooked him because I was being a fucking little fucking bitch, about shit that I couldn't get over with, you know, emotionally. And now I gotta get over it and just like figure that shit out and just stand on what it is and move forward and act accordingly and become who I need to become because it happened for a reason, you know. And so I'm looking at these kids and I'm like, I'm I'm starting to like take them, and as they peel off, and I'm doing an exercise over here and I see them and their form's all fucked up, I'm just starting to go over there and just kind of give them a little bit of game. No, tuck your elbows underneath your shit, roll your shoulders back, make sure your spine is good, put your mind inside of the muscle where you're trying to like really contract when you're on like isolation machines and things like that, and kind of gaming them up and showing them, like just telling them, keep doing this, just keep coming,
Yeah.
don't stop, you know. And there's a couple of them. There's one that's kind of like the run of the litter, and I haven't gotten his name yet because I didn't want to like put him on the spot, you know what I mean, and have all his friends are doing their things, and make it seem like I'm just, like talking down to him. So, but really, I was kind of just like, I took him and his other friend aside. There were two of the smaller kids of the group, and I just kind of bigging them up, and showing them, hey, this is what you do. This is how you do it. Work this group and then that group. Balance it out. You don't want to get shoulder impingement. These kind of dropping terms on them to make them go, huh? And I go, you need to educate yourself on this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I wish someone would have did that for me when I was in high school, but nobody did.
Well, that's because, I mean, realistically, most people who are in positions to teach high school kids these things aren't very knowledgeable about it. Like, most gym teachers aren't, like, they have a teaching degree, but they don't really have, like, the science knowledge or the practical knowledge to back it up.
Well, that's a perfect fucking segue into underqualified fucking people,
Yeah.
trying to take control of the next generation with doing minimal investment on themselves. Like they've already given up on themselves. The dude that was our lifting teacher, like he was fat. The motherfucker can't even show me how to do the squat properly.
Yeah.
Big old belly gets in the way.
And
I
see,
don't give a
like
shit if you play
that was like the
football.
difference of my high school. I didn't take weightlifting classes in high school, but our weightlifting teacher was jacked as fuck. Like he benched
Mm-hmm.
405. He was a football coach, and like he probably was one of the more qualified people that I've seen in a school to teach physical exercise. And so
How
it's
do you
like
influence you?
I never took his class. I just know him because he was like one of the more popular teachers among like the sport people and shit.
Mm,
Yeah, but he was
okay.
jacked as fuck, strong as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things where it's like you look at it and it's like for real,
and like to
you
also
know.
like go back on what you were saying about like the group of kids. Last week I was in a college town and I was at another crunch working out, and I was doing my I was doing front squats in front of the mirror, and behind me was I think a group of like four college kids. They couldn't have been more than like 20, 21. Um, but there was three of them that were pretty fit, and then there was one of them that was a little bit heavy set. And
Mm-hmm.
all of these dudes, one, the three, like this is a comparison to just a little how much a little bit of maturity can change how a dynamic works within a gym setting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
these guys were not just pushing the dude who didn't know as much, but they were encouraging him too. So like rather than just having him die, they were there cheering him on as he was doing it, spotting him properly and everything like that. So like even though he
Mm-hmm.
was pushing himself to really close to failure, with a weight that was way lower than everybody else's, they were there encouraging him and doing it the proper way rather than like what you had witnessed at Crunch as well, is just them being kind of irresponsible and immature towards their friend who's a beginner. And so it kind of
Yeah.
shows like there's even within like a couple years, right? Because high schoolers compared to like early college kids, it's not a huge difference, but like a couple years outside of high school, outside of your parents' house, can really change who you are as a man or just as a person in general, you know? And I think that that dynamic becomes really important.
Well, there's something to respect too. You know, I think one of the biggest things that we lack in society is consequences for disrespect.
Yeah.
You know,
I say this a lot
uh,
to people, especially young people, and even like, and I don't want this to come off sounding sexist, but I've said this to within a conversation between two men, and you know this more than I do. There's there's
mhm,
there's always a possibility of violence.
mhm,
And I've been punched for saying dumb shit before, but I've never been in like a full blown fight. And so I tell a lot of
mhm,
people, and I've even been, smacked around by my parents a few times for saying stupid shit. But I
mhm.
tell people, especially like my younger friends, you don't know what it's like to be hit for saying something stupid.
Yeah.
And that's
You
just,
know,
that's just how it is.
I don't think people appreciate peace until they've actually experienced violence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not just like true, uh, like both sides of violence. Hurting someone and dealing with the regret of it, and also having to defend yourself and sometimes losing in the pursuit of that,
Yeah.
you know? And that's why I think everyone should do something, especially like the younger they are, in terms of be it boxing or whatever, you know, because it helps you get that kind of like pecking order shit down, and not just pecking order, understanding that like you have to stand up for yourself,
Yeah.
and I can speak from personal like experience. I went all the way down the path of like woo woo shit, because after I got Christ in my life, I realized I became conscious, you know, of how wrong it was to mistreat people when I knew better, you know?
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, I was so mad that it was like disrespect put me in a place where I felt so helpless that I would get violent, you know? And when I wasn't getting violent with somebody, it was almost like I was more violent in like psychological ways towards myself. It was like self-harm, the way that I looked at myself,
Well,
you
like,
know?
describe that. Like, how was it self harm?
So like I would I didn't know how to handle conflict and not look at myself um as being a bitch even though I was being mature, right? Even though I was being good-hearted and giving someone a pass, there was something in me, you know, where I felt like devalued, like I allowed you to disrespect me. You stole a piece of me,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
and it was really I gave it up to you mentally. And so we can still be sitting here in the same room. And this would happen to me like at parties a lot. That's why shout out to Joseph Hines for keeping me out of fucking trouble. Cause you know how many times, bro, especially like when liquor's involved in the situation, you know,
Yeah.
and you add on top of that, like the public, you don't know how many people he fucking saved from me just going ape shit on, you know? No, for real. Like, cause I would be off in the corner and it's like everyone's having fun. This dude thinks that he got away with whatever he got away with. And I'm thinking about coming up and just fucking your whole night up, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I had to recognize that that was flawed. Like, that was super flawed.
It's an ego
And
thing.
yeah, and I didn't know how to stand on it,
Yeah.
you know, and regain my own power, you know? And so here I am arguing with myself for the next 2 3 hours. It might even be weeks, you know, when you're in school and you're seeing the person again. And I'm like, I just want to smash this dude every time I see him.
Yeah.
But, you know, I had gotten in enough trouble where they were like, you're not only going to be like kicked out of this school, but like, if you keep fighting people, like, we're going to have to do something about you,
Yeah.
you know? And I was selling weed at the time. So I always had shit on me, you know? Rest in peace to my brother Paul. But, you know, like, he was on another level where it's like if me and him were together, oftentimes I'm walking around with a pistol because I know they're gonna look at him, you know, and I'm not having that, you know. So there was just shit that you know a lot of people don't understand that I was experiencing and trying to navigate at like an early age. And now when I look at it, it's like I always had that voice in the back of my head, you know, and this standard of like morality that that my dad really like imposed on me, especially because my dad worked in a prison, you know? And he would see me fucking up and he'd be like, I don't want to see you in here.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, he handled me with a lot of grace that I took for granted, you know, because I was really hurt as a child the way a lot of shit played out in my life. And I look back on it now and I'm like, man, there there's a lot of shit I wish I could have said to him in that way. And I know like uh sorry, give me a second. I know that energy is never like created or destroyed, it just changes forms. So I know I can still talk to him because his spirit's still here, you know, but there's something different when you can talk to somebody and hear them coach you through some shit, you know? And my dad had a lot of anger and exhibited it growing up, you know? And so I was, you know, in this paradigm of also like, he taught me right from wrong, you know? And he was like also experiencing and seeing prison. And my dad was bullied when he was younger, you know? Um, but he always would fuck people up too. Like, cause my dad, right. And so it's this weird thing of like being caught. I felt like I got caught in the system early because it was the school system that started punishing me for standing up for myself and not only standing up for myself but what was just right, you know.
Yeah.
um like I have a weird kind of like I have a complex about myself, like a hero complex, you know, God complex where I was like, I would see kids like teaching younger kids to like curse and stuff like that, and I would just steal on them. Like I wasn't having it. And yet here I
Sure.
am and I would curse, but like not in front of little kids and especially like little girls. Like they didn't need to know like what that was, you
Yeah.
know? And there was just weird shit that I would do, you know, that made me as I got older and I got out of high school, I felt like there was so many consequences to me being violent, you know, that I went completely pacifist, you know,
Yeah.
to the point of like I didn't know how to assert myself properly because the way that I want to handle people in conflict at a certain point, like there's a certain point where it's not just I don't want to talk anymore about it. Fuck it, I'll be wrong, you
Yeah.
know? And I didn't know how to navigate that, you know? And so I was like, all right, God just wants us to love. And it really took me a long time to understand like righteous anger and the framework of positivity that needs to be upheld by people going, no, that doesn't happen over here. You can go through life doing that, but in terms of how you treat me, fuck all that. You know, and I'm at a point because of a lot of the shit that I'm like navigating in my own life, um, not necessarily transpiring in a way that's within my control enough, you know, in the actual situation for me not to be frustrated, you know, or to
Yeah.
be feel violated or shortchanged, you know, by my investment level versus my return thus far.
Yeah.
But as I yeah,
No, I was just saying, yeah, you're good.
okay. But as I go through that, you know, and I navigate this, I learn more and more the power of consistency and when someone is truly like responsible for what they fucking stand for, you know?
Yeah.
Like when they take that with the utmost sincerity, you know, and the more that I study, I've met a lot of great people, you know, and they're always, as people, we're all flawed. We're all walking contradictions on some level, you know,
Yeah.
um, but we're just at different phases of overcoming our own nature, and we'll all fall short in little ways. But you can always get yourself back on track, and it's about falling short less and less and less and less and less, you know, to the point where it's like, all right, now rather than me falling short and punching someone in the face, you know, or even arguing with myself about something, it might just be I didn't like my tone that I used with somebody. I could say that better, you know?
Yeah.
And even though it's there, like learning to forgive myself and, you know, not having that same hour long dialogue with myself, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so
I
yeah,
I
I
do that a
think
lot too. Like I'll even do it almost in the moment sometimes. Where I'll respond to someone and sometimes I'll be like, my fault. That was like way too aggressive. Uh I didn't mean it like that. And then I'll correct it in that moment sometimes. And then sometimes it'll be a little bit later. It's like, dang, I either came off like an asshole or I came off dickish, uh, or just like way too aggressive, or I should have been more aggressive. Uh, and so it's like I think like that is a solid. It's a solid form of like self analysis that one helps people become better at interacting, but also more empathetic towards how they are treating other people.
I'm learning how to be relentlessly direct and figure out how to um, sugarcoat the correction. You know what I mean?
Well, like, okay, so what do you mean? Like,
So, like, actually saying what the fuck I feel in a very unfiltered, almost like direct, you got me fucked up kind of way, but this is why. And I I have to own this portion of it, and I'll work on my portion. And I think if you were to try X, Y, or Z, you know, might be something that could help me in this process a little bit, you know?
yeah, I think
Just letting
there
people know when they're fucking wrong in a direct way. Not beating around the bush,
there's like
but just saying you're fucking wrong.
I've heard a lot of people, and this is kind of just like this isn't me saying that you are doing this. This is mostly
Hmm.
just like there is a lot of people have told me that they're direct when they're just being an asshole. And so
Mm,
like there's a difference, there's a level of like care in the way that you formulate your sentences that's direct and assholeish. Like if you want to say like you're being a fucking dumbass, right? That might be a really assholey way to say it. But you could also be just as direct and not be as insulting, whereas like, hey dude, that's not a good idea. Here's why. Type shit,
mm.
right? And so it's like there's a line where direct becomes being an asshole, and that line has to be found. And it's like,
I think there's constructive versus destructive. And I think
yeah,
sometimes people need someone to be an asshole and act, or at least it's almost like becoming indifferent to whether someone thinks you're an asshole or not for what you say when it's the truth. You know?
um,
When it's what they need to hear and people aren't fucking like they're saying it to themselves. You know they are,
yeah,
you know? But they're just not getting called on it because everyone else is like it's almost like that whole concept of like fat shaming.
yeah,
You know what I
uh-huh.
mean? Where it's like this person tells themselves they're fat and they're insecure about their looks, you know?
Yeah, but like there's a difference between saying, "Hey, you're fat as fuck and you need to get in the gym to lose weight," or, "Hey dude, it's getting to an unhealthy point, you need to work out." There's two differences there. And
There is.
like
But sometimes people just need to say, "What the fuck are you doing?"
yeah, that's not an assholey way. It's like, "Hey dude, like what the fuck are you doing with your health right now? Like this isn't at a healthy point anymore. You need to correct this or something, like some bad shit's going to happen and you're not going to be able to reverse it."
Well,
So,
I think also the other side of that is the consequence is me now choosing things in my life. Not saying like, oh, you can't have a friend who's overweight or some kind of shit like that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But when you look at the level of investment that you wind up fucking giving people, because if you truly value time and look at life as a business, of like the business is how much fun can I have while changing this world for the better, right?
Yeah.
By becoming the person that I want to become, right? That's kind of the formula. And if I'm fucking running with someone who's not pulling their fucking weight, and they're satisfied with mediocre fucking bullshit, you're not my peer. You can be my friend, but you're not my fucking peer. I can't associate with you on the same level because, like it or not, your tendencies are fucking transferable. Because when just like two objects get close to one another, right? There's going to be friction. And a little bit of this is going to rub off on a little bit of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you start observing by listening to people, right? What's their mental diet? Because that they're going to tell you in the way that they talk, the way that they observe their life. It's going to come out of their fucking mouth, right? And so I've gotten to this point where like I'm more quiet than I've probably ever been in my life. I'm trying not to function on like uh, a level where my heart closes down, you know,
Yeah.
and I just get headstrong about shit to the point where it's like I don't feel that connection that I get. Like when I talk to God, like Jesus literally, like I can feel my whole entire body and more. Like every bit of my soul tingles. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I know when I'm in alignment and when this is like a divine connection and message and moment versus just me in my chosen perspective, which is like blocking out all that is, and seeing things from a universal perspective. I'm just seeing it from my perspective. And I think what I'm learning to appreciate to kind of bring this full circle is like, as I'm seeing the consistency of like my father, and his attempts to really extend himself and be gracious with me while remaining consistent and working for this goal that seems almost like it's never going to come. Like he would invite me to so many things that I didn't fucking go and do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I got um, I got probably like four voicemails with his voice on it. And I can hear the the pain in his voice from him extending himself and knowing that I'm not gonna show up, but him wanting to do shit with me. You know what I'm saying? And like I look at it and it's like that's some man shit, you know? To work day in and day out and love your work, and love your family so much that when you get off of like what your passion is, you want to experience it with them and trying to share it over and over and over again. Dude, I can't tell you how many things I passed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fucking countless. And now like some of the only things that I can hear him say to me, in his own voice, um I can see the pain in there, but like he still remained consistent. He still showed up. He still gave. He never stopped trying to give. He never compromised on telling me when I was fucking up either. You know? Um and I just look at it and it's like, wow, he never got so headstrong, I guess, that his heart completely like closed down. And I guess that's what I'm navigating is like how to live in pain. You know what I mean? Or in frustration at times and pull yourself out of it. And like the way that I've been doing that is like physical exercise. It gets you out of that fucking state. And so I pull myself out of it and then, you know, trying not to be like a fucking animal, like just so frustrated with life that I have no connection,
Yeah.
you know? And that's why I think like giving is like you just keep giving. I really think there's something to that formula, you know? Tapping in and giving, tapping in and giving, you know? And it's something that I haven't quite like mastered yet. There's new levels of potential and success in my life of things that I've wanted to achieve, wanting to be a father, and now learning how to be someone, um, how to be a dad and how to love somebody and show up for them when you get fucking nothing back, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and still give regardless, the best of your ability. Still prepare while it's like I'm in the fucking dark. I don't even know what's going on, But I gotta fucking prepare, you know? And staying down enough that it's like, I love you so much that I'm just gonna keep fucking preparing. You know what I mean? And that's what I can handle. I'm gonna treat it as it is, and when you fucking get it, you get it. but regardless, I'm gonna have something to fucking give, you know? And I look at that and it's like, whoa, what the fuck? Life is a mirror, you know? That's that shit that I was talking about with my dad, you know? That's the same shit that he went through. And it's like all these questions that we have. And I'm starting to like be very mindful of the questions I ask when I criticize somebody about how could someone do this or that, you know? Because in my life, it seems like I've wound up standing in those fucking shoes of that person. And then I go, oh, I get it. And there's some lessons I don't want to fucking learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me pause you because I
Right.
gotta go to the bathroom super bad.
And so now that Zach's back in perfect timing, record time for a piss, he just decided to go in the sink. uh, I think what I was really getting into was kind of judgment, you know,
Yeah.
and judging a situation preemptively is and wanting it to be something that it isn't meant to be uh, is a level of maturity that only happens through the process and throughout the process, you know? And if you give up on it on one level and one area of life, it will show itself in another area of life, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and that's why I think it's like the character, the true character consistency, you know, where it's like, these are the things that I represent. When you get me, you get these, is really important. And when you go around in your life, it's like you have to start assessing certain things in people's characters, no matter how much you love them, you know, and appraise it with the utmost fucking scrutiny, you know, like relentlessly honest, you know, so that way your scale of what's right and what's wrong doesn't get all fucking miscalibrated, you know, because otherwise it's going to throw you off track, you know, when you waver at all, you know, if you waver for this other person, it's going to turn into you wavering on yourself in that same way, you know. And inconsistency is something that is, it's like if you watch someone run super fast and they're in perfect stride, the person that wins the race is consistently at that stride. But if they miss a step, you know, they have one inconsistent step, they can tumble and fall out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you're trying to run at the fastest level, you know, because you understand the value of fucking time, you know, and not just run at the fastest level, but enjoy the running, you know, not just while you're energized, but when you're fucking painful and you're tired, you know, and your legs are burning and your lungs are hurting, you know, learning to enjoy it then. Like that's also what it really means to run. You see what I mean? It's the full experience. It's not just doing it while you're good. It's doing it while you're kind of fucked off, you know?
Embrace the suck.
And yeah, exactly. And it comes back to this same fucking formula, you know? Like I was at the bank today and the lady was asking me about days off, you know? And I was like, there are no days off. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even think about it, you know? I might not have gone to work at the gun store today, but I was working all fucking day.
Yeah.
You know, you create a system and you work that system and then you rework the system so it works better.
Yeah. Slowly fine tuning everything until it becomes like a well oiled machine.
Mhm.
Making micro adjustments here and there are like, it's extremely powerful, especially like, because a lot of people get overwhelmed with having to make big changes in their life, like going to the gym, right? Let's say someone who just starts going to the gym, feels like they need to go 5 days a week for 2 hours and destroy their body and shit like that. And it's like, well, you don't have to start that intense. You can start with like 3 days a week, 45 minutes, full body workouts, and ease yourself into it rather than making this huge jump when you're not ready for it. And so I think if people started looking at like the micro in comparison in how it works with the macro, then people would start feeling a little bit more at ease with making those decisions. Like, because everyone, there's this quote by Elon Musk. It says, "Everyone overestimates what they can do in a year, and underestimates what they can do in 10."
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, if you start looking at like these small decisions impacting your progress and how fast you move within that 10-year mark, those decisions don't really like, are they're not as overwhelming because you don't have to like get it right away, because 10 years is kind of a long time, you know. And so like being willing to just, okay, make one tiny adjustment here, and then we're good. I can work with that, get that fine tuned, that small adjustment fine tuned, and then go on to the next thing. And each one of these is like a little stair that you're climbing to get to that ultimate goal of like, okay, 5 days a week, and now I'm a power lifter and I compete type shit, right? So you start with those small steps and you micro adjust and you fine tune as you get closer to that bigger goal. And that's also why I feel like it's important to have an end goal. Like, where do you want to be? What's your destination? What does the future look like? And then take that and then fixate on these tiny little details. And then as you go, master one thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. Like, I was thinking today, excuse me, hold on. I was thinking today about Craig, and he said today in a live stream on Facebook that he's a serial entrepreneur. And I'm like, I kind of fuck with that saying because it really is him. That is who he is. And I was thinking about what made him successful in terms of like, he's happy doing what he's doing, and he seems to have always been happy doing what he's doing. Outside of some times where he's hit burnout, but he's always adjusted and bounced back. But what I was thinking about him was he started as a car salesman and he mastered that. And then when he was really close to mastering that, he started doing the video and photography shit. And then as he got close to mastering that, he dropped car sales, focused almost entirely on mastering photo video. And now that he's pretty much mastered that, he's moving on to physical. He's being basically a personal trainer, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
he fixates on these big goals, masters them, and then moves on to the next. And I'm like, to me, that's what makes success possible, is like mastering one thing at a time and then moving on to the next and continuing to improve and build upon everything that you know and that you have within your tool belt. And then eventually 10 years down the line, you're self-employed and you're the happiest you've ever been because you can literally sustain your lifestyle doing what you love doing rather than stressing yourself out because you can't do it in a year or 2 years or three.
I agree with that 100%. And I just think like life is so full of paradoxes that it's almost like the less that you need, like when you don't need anything, right? Everything then is like you're able to embrace it more. And in this strange way, it's like the biggest goal that you can have to me now, like after just experiencing so much fucking pain for a prolonged amount of time, and investment and coming up short and things like that because of my unreadiness because I had an inconsistent character,
Yeah.
you know? It's like now I look at it like the character traits, right, are the goal, right? And so the activities are just the means to maintain the character. You see what I'm saying? And so these big goals and big things that are inevitably going to happen, you know, along the way mean far less in a way than the system and what each day and each task itself means, you know?
Yeah.
And I think in that way, I've I've become obsessive about exercise.
Yeah.
It is the one realm where you can be outside of yourself and inside of yourself while being active. You know, it's different than what I've experienced from like meditation. And I've gotten pretty fucking deep in meditation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've had some and so now after having that experience, it's almost like I'm realizing the need for both so that my central nervous system doesn't get hijacked, you know, from being overly active. But there's something to while I'm like in the gym, and I think it's the only way that I can really explain it is like, you know how people cut themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Like you know how people experience to feel pain,
Yeah.
but it's almost like less than the emotional pain or some kind of shit. It's like you're cutting yourself, and that's why they say like, oh, that dude's got like a cut physique. Really, it's all ripping the muscles, you know? As you're doing it, you're breaking yourself down to build yourself up, you know,
Yeah.
in a healthy way.
Um,
And
go ahead.
yeah, no, continue. You're
Um,
good.
I've said to a lot of times, like, uh, especially when I went through the recent breakup, I was telling people at the gym that I'm using the gym as healthy self harm. Right? I
Mhm.
was going ridiculous mode. I was going so intense. Um, and I think like I had a conversation with a couple people about it, and one person disagreed with the other person because originally, the person one said, uh, the gym is self harm. The person two, being someone who had previously actually self harmed, like cutting and stuff, said, no, it's not. And I had to like stop and I had to mediate that. And I'm like, well, first of all, in essence, the emotional damage that's needed to physically cut yourself is different. It's the harm there is different. However, it's um what causes those things is relatively the same, right? So what motivates someone to go to the gym and what causes someone to cut themselves can relatively be the same thing, right? So like for me, when I first started working out almost 10 years ago, I was motivated to start working out because of a bad breakup, right? And for some other people, that bad breakup might have caused them to start cutting. And so it's, in essence, different scenarios cause different people to do things. But going into the gym and using it as like, okay, it's a way to get better, but you're also experiencing, if you're doing it right, quite a bit of pain because you have to push past a certain wall and you have to get yourself to a point where it's like if you're not experiencing a certain level of pain and discomfort, you're not actually doing what the gym is designed to do. Because like you said, tearing the muscle down and breaking yourself down to cause adaptation in the body, it's takes a lot of pain. It really does. Like fucking dude, like I've almost not walked out of a gym. Like there was one time I was going to a gym in Portland. It was actually the PSU campus gym, and I was
Mhm.
working out with this guy. He was 16 at the time, and I was like 18, and but he was jacked as fuck. He was benching like 225 for reps,
Damn, son.
Yeah, and his name is Blind Barbell on Instagram. Go follow him. He's on the road to 700 pounds on the deadlift. Anyways,
Nice.
uh, and so I was working out with this kid, and uh, we were fucking destroying our legs. We had to
Mm-hmm.
literally take the elevator to leave that gym because there was stairs to get to the gym because it was a multi-floor like rec center, and so we had to literally take the elevator because we knew if we tried to walk down those fucking stairs, there was like a staircase of like 40 stairs. We weren't gonna fucking make it, and like just stepping off of a curb was difficult after that workout. And so like
Mm-hmm.
when you're working out that hard, you can't deny that it's a certain level of like self harm, even though it's leading to a healthy result. In some cases, you could do it to a point where you're hurting yourself, kind of like how you were talking about with the kids that you got on, right? They were doing it in a way that could actually cause harm.
I
But
look at it like pain is growth. Like
yeah, in
at the
some ways,
simplest term,
yeah,
pain is fucking growth, you know? And so it's almost like I'm at this point in my life where it's like I'm not even mad at people. I get mad at the situation, you know?
yeah,
And I almost I can only get mad at myself for how I handle and interact with the situation. It's almost like everything gets a fucking pass because it's second to what I'm working on, you know? And what I'm working on is so fucking valuable, you know? Cuz I know the end byproduct of what's going to happen is other people's lives will be changed, you know? But I'm in this mode where it's like I have to focus on myself and still remain conscious enough of the plan, like you said, because my end goals are like increasingly um, more philanthropic in one sense, you know, of wanting to uplift other people's lives. While the shit that I want along the way is almost like as much as I love material shit, it's hollow in comparison to this immaterial, intangible trait that you embody, where you look at yourself and you just go, I fucking did that shit, you know?
yeah,
And that's why it's like, I don't look at it as like, as harm, but it's the only way that I can equate like embracing the pain of growth, you know?
yeah,
And in order to do that, you realize that you are more than this body that you're putting this body through. You know, you're the consciousness and the soul that is living through this bodily experience, you know, in order to understand itself and the greater scheme of things on a very personal, individualistic way. And it's so universal, you know, everything is so connected that if I can just understand this for my fucking self by experiencing it, I can
yeah,
understand it for you. You know what I mean? And anyone else. And I think like when I look at being a man, it's like being willing to experience that in its totality and just not have an answer and know that the answer already exists, you know, and that it's already in place and it's going to happen. It's already done because I'm never going to stop fucking working. You know what I mean? It's already fucking done. And so when it comes, it's going to be like, oh, yeah, awesome. You know what I mean? Check. Dope. Good for an afternoon. But now it's like tomorrow's like the next crown jewel. And the crown jewel is enduring this shit, you know?
yeah,
And it's this endurance shit. And I guess that might be why I fell in love with the cardio aspect first, you know? And I truly integrate cardio into my workout, you know? It's like even though I'm lifting, it's like an endurance lifting style, you know?
Yeah.
and the weights are going up, but they're going up incrementally. Like it's not these quantum leaps almost. It's like as it goes up, bro, I also will go back down to another level, you know? And I guess that's the closest way that I can say like humbling myself to the experience of like rather than just lifting some shit that's heavy and being like, all right, it's good. No, it's not good. Because I know I got more in me. And I don't give a fuck if I'm only lifting this much. You know what I mean? In comparison to what I was just lifting, I know I got more in me. And that's how I can wind up spending 4 hours in the gym and being like, oh shit, okay. But now I'm learning this other side of it, right? It's getting to the point where it's revealed the other layer of like nutrition, you know? And I'm really excited to see how nutrition equates to your positive mental attitude, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's what all this leads to. That's the real purpose of all of this. But I'm realizing there's different levels of journey. Like, and I look at it. So something that I was thinking about the other day, because I think it was like on Mother's Day. Uh, I went over to hang out with my mom, and she was like, let's go get our feet done. You know what I mean? I've never experienced soaking my feet in a tub and like having the little ladies like rub them down and stuff. But it really it opened my eyes to like, yo, that's what women do. You know, like I wonder what that level of self love is, where you start taking care of your skin more. Like bro, I'm on that Bill Burr shit where I'm like the white dude that never put lotion on.
Yeah, I
It
don't
should.
do that shit either. I did it today because I've been fucking blowing my nose like a motherfucker, so I did it on my nose to like help with the fucking dryness and shit. But I don't do it either. And like you can see my skin is like red because it's just dry as fuck. And so I'm like, I don't do it either. Um However, I almost think like I feel like most of the time, like there is an aspect of self love to it, but a lot of women are probably only taking care of themselves like that because of weird societal standards, which is a whole different topic. But
Well, I don't know, dude. And this is something that I want to find out is like going and into that like taking care of yourself, because when I look at people like the silver era people like my grandfather,
yeah,
golden era people like Arnold and stuff like that, they all took care of their skin and everything. Like these are men that had to like shave their bodies and shit like that. And I'm like, maybe there's something, because the same way you get a haircut, you feel better, right? When you're well groomed and stuff.
yeah.
The same way that when I put my cologne on, I'm like, ooh, I have a new essence. It just, I kind of looked at it and I'm like, I really don't think women do it just for the societal standards. I think that's some bullshit
But
that
what do you
ugly ass women say or lazy bitches say because they're fucking frustrated that they got to do this shit to get some dick. And the
what do you
truth is,
hold on, how do you but listen, the only reason you feel good about getting a haircut is because you look good to other people.
no,
Yes,
no,
that is
it's not
why.
just that.
Because and then you
No,
also look good to yourself, but you look good to other people. That's also part of it.
but see, this is the thing. Like, I'm not saying that you like necessarily take that away from it. What I'm saying is like the experience of getting a haircut. Because I always loved when they would like straight razor fade me with an actual knife. When it's hot, they put the hot towels on you
Yeah.
and they're shaving you up and shit like that. Like, there's something to it where it's like that's for me, dog. It's like I don't do the fucking dishes or take out the trash so like my mom or like my girl doesn't yell at me or something. It's like, no, I do it for me because I like to look and not see that bullshit there.
Yeah.
Like I get weird even about the clutter that I have in my room. And it's like,
Yeah, my room's fucking spotless.
yeah, dude, you're lucky. What's a trip though? It's like, as I'm still in litigations and shit, but as of right now, like through my dad's like dying in terms of like material things, I got like 3 boxes of stuff. And
Yeah.
it's all like bullshit that my dad didn't care. The most thing that I have about my dad is that right there, those skis. Like that's my dad, you know, and I have a picture with him, you know. But you know, like my room, that's played a huge portion of the clutter, you know, because it's like I just got these boxes that I look at, and it's almost like it's a trip, you know, like a lot of people, like my best friend passed away, and it's like, you know, he got killed, and I have his car, and I see his car like as so valuable, you know, and it's like I see it every day, and it's like this reminder to me in a crazy way, you know.
Yeah.
And my life is just kind of different in that regard, you know. So I guess that's why, to not excusing my clutter, you know, but like when I look at some shit, it's like, you know, I've seen people that, you know, a lot of people actually look at my car and go, "Oh yeah, that's fucking nice," but I see other people that are like, "You're driving a fucking hoopty, homie," you know, and like to me, it's like they don't even see the car that it is. They don't even see the same car that I see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what it represents to me, it just means so fucking much, you know. um that it's almost like throughout my life I've started, and really as of lately, taking score of things way different, you know what I mean, just way different. And I'm appreciative, even though shit is like painful. Like I can look at it and be like, bro, my story is so unique. Like I don't know people that are my age that have lived through a lot of the shit that I lived through. There's people that probably lived through way worse, like way, way worse. And I know it for sure,
Yeah.
you know? But just in terms of like my journey, like I'm starting to take pride in things differently. And I'm happy that it's like I got my mojo back. And a large part of that is just fucking grabbing my nuts again and reclaiming fucking man shit. You know what I mean? Because I really bought into this whole like bullshit phase that the world is in right now, you know? And I allowed myself, like, I weakened myself rather than because it made other people uncomfortable, or because, you know, like, I saw myself in a way like as a savage because I was trying to see myself as other people saw me rather than just owning who the fuck I really am. You know what I mean? And like now I'm learning how to do it 2.0, where it's like I erase the negative habits and I accept the the rage that I haven't figured out quite how to deal with, you know? And that there is a portion of me that's like my default nature, as much as I'm like a super lover, you know? Like my nature is to love and to be giving. I'm also like my hurt nature, you know, is fucking disgusting and volatile, you know? And it's like lessening all of that, you know, and understanding that that's a part of me that I'm developing out of myself through this walk through life as these character traits really become the grand jewel of the journey, you know, of my soul, you know, and who Kemper Woodruff is. But I don't know that I have anything that I can fucking add that's gonna top what I just fucking said. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I got nothing else to add, to be honest. I'm starting to feel worse and worse, bro.
Yeah, this dude's got to get out of here. He's got to take some Mucinex and some
Hot as fuck
NyQuil,
right
and
now.
fucking Tylenol, and some Benadryl, and go the fuck to sleep.
Yeah.
But I love you, bro. Thank you for enduring this. Anyone that watches it, I hope you appreciate it. I love y'all. Till next week. Peace.
Peace.